You're listening to the Rewrite the Rules podcast. We are your hosts. My name is Harriet.
I'm Beth.
And I'm Natalie.
You want to work towards achieving true food and body image freedom, you are in the right place.
Rewrite the Rules podcast is your survival guide to letting go of harmful societal expectations and unlearning any unhelpful beliefs that are stopping you from having a healthy and loving relationship with food and yourself.
Our mission is to help you feel heard, understood, and empower you to step out of the box and rewrite your rules so you can live life on your terms. Thank you for tuning in. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome back to another episode of Rewrite the Rules. Today, your hosts are myself, Harriet, and Beth.
Hi, guys. I hope you're all okay.
Yeah, so today's episode is a much requested topic, probably our most requested topic, and that is how to manage bloating and body image, which is something that I'm sure we've all struggled to navigate at some point.
Yes, absolutely. Dealing with bloating, sort of when you are on your path to finding food freedom and body image freedom, can really put a spanner in the works. We know, we've been there. I think we both felt this episode would be really, really valuable to put out there. And I think a lot of our listeners are really going to benefit from this today.
100%. So we thought we would start with the basics and kind of explain what bloating is. I'm sure everyone knows, but Rewrite the Rules style, we like to make everything crystal clear. So Beth, would you like to tell us what bloating is?
Yes, of course. So it's when your stomach feels really full or really tight, when it's enlarged or feeling really uncomfortable. And obviously this can happen for a wide range of reasons. With women, it could be hormonal. I know I personally experience that a lot. It could be something that you've eaten or just that you ate a lot of something as well. With any sort of eating, you are going to get a certain level of bloat, okay? The food has got to go somewhere and that is completely normal. But it could also be from swallowing air. So if you are eating too quickly, if you are chewing gum, if you are drinking a carbonated beverage, bloating is super common and is also highly individual. But with any sort of body alteration, it can be difficult to deal with mentally.
Absolutely. And obviously we wanted to give a disclaimer that a lot of the time bloating can be just completely normal, nothing to worry about. We all have it. But if you feel that you're experiencing bloat that feels excessive, really, really regular, really painful, then it's always better to see your GP just to see if there's a medical intervention that you can get, or just to check in to see if anything else is going on, because obviously you can bloat because maybe you're allergic to something, you have an intolerance. So it's just always best to check with your GP if you feel that it's excessive and maybe not on the normal side.
Absolutely. So we're just going to go in and talk about our sort of experiences personally of bloating. And then we'll move on later to give you some tips and tricks on just how to best deal with it. I feel like I've got many different experiences of bloating. So one was sort of when I was really stuck in my binge restrict cycle, there was always something going on with my stomach, whether it was bloating from hunger and the fact that I'd done nothing that day but chew gum and eat sugar-free jellies and eat Halo Top and drank Diet Pop and things like that. Whereas then I'd have the other side of the spectrum where my body was sort of trying to recover from grossly overeating. And also at that time, I was hyper fixated on my stomach and constantly stressing about that particular area anyway, and sort of noticing every little tiny change, and sort of felt massive shame for that and really punished myself for it. So that sort of stress really, really sort of just added to my bloating. Compared to now, obviously, since totally repairing my relationship with food and my body, I'm so much kinder to myself. I'm so much more gentle to myself. And when I bloat now, I often just try and dissect it and just ask myself, why is this happening right now? Could it be my cycle? Because I personally track my cycle. So there are times in my cycle where I expect to be feeling this way. I can expect to be bloated. Other times, I may have just eaten a fat bowl of pasta and obviously it was 10 out of 10 worth it. But I just sit there and sort of embrace my full belly and enjoy it. Sometimes I'm stressed or I've slept badly, and I can definitely sort of connect the dots in those moments as well and be like, actually, I'm probably feeling this way because of X, Y, and Z. Like anyone, sometimes it just happens. There isn't always a rhyme or a reason. I just make sure to put some comfy clothes on. I make sure to hydrate myself. I make sure to talk to myself with love and care, and just know that this feeling will pass. So that is sort of like my experience, my sort of before disordered eating and then after. But what is your experience, Harriet?
So it's actually very similar to yours. I think when I was like heavily restricting, yeah, I guess you wouldn't get that kind of food baby bloat. But then obviously when the binges came, then it felt really excessive and really extreme, and it was really hard to deal with. But it honestly felt like your body had changed overnight, even though we know that's not possible. But that's how it felt. And even now I bloat quite a lot, to be honest with you, especially like you said, if I'm eating something that's very high in carbs, if I'm on my period, sometimes just randomly. It's like, I think I swallow a lot of air. I also drink a lot of sparkling water, and I think that makes me quite bloated as well. But I just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And that's just it. Like, I really don't. There was definitely times in the past where I did care and I treated it like a catastrophe. Like, I can't go out. I can't wear what I wanted to wear now. Everyone's going to look at me. Everyone's going to think I'm pregnant. Whereas now I just don't care whatever people think. I treated it bloating like a catastrophe, and it just doesn't have to be. Obviously, going through the journey of food freedom and working on your body image, this is how you cope with bloating. You realize that it's temporary, it's not a disaster. Yeah, you just realize that it's just part of your body and it's fine.
Absolutely. I love that. I definitely used to like avoid foods as well, because I was just like, oh, if I eat that, I'm going to bloat. So it would like stop me sort of doing the things that I wanted to, eating the things that I wanted to, because I was panicked about my body changing. And now, because I'm sort of, not that I don't care about my body, but I'm not constantly checking in the mirror, like I'm not constantly feeling my stomach, so like I probably bloat a lot more than I realize. It's just that I'm really not hyper fixated on that anymore, so I just don't notice it as much.
That's so true. Like, when you're so hyper fixated, even if you bloat just a little bit, it's all you can think about.
It's so freeing, your body being allowed to sort of temporarily change and it to not be a disaster, and you can sort of like continue on with your day and things like that. And obviously, like, that mentality is another reason why it's so worth finding that food freedom. You can just enjoy life so much more. You can make more memories. You can say yes to more things instead of almost being held back.
It's so true. Bloating in this respect will only hold you back if you let it. And it's so important to like train yourself to move beyond it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Realize it doesn't define you, it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't define what you've just eaten, unless you're allergic to it.
Yeah.
If you love pasta, but you bloat after eating pasta, your bloating doesn't have to be a signal that pasta is a bad food.
Yeah. Should we sort of continue that on and just talk about how would we start to sort of deal with it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah. So obviously it's about being kind to yourself and just treating yourself with compassion. I know for me now, when I'm bloated, the first thing I think of is, how can I make my day today nicer? Because being bloated is very uncomfortable at times, and I often just use it as a reminder just to slow down, like, and rest. And me and my boyfriend joke that when I have a food baby, we're like, oh, how can we look after the food baby today? And just like, yeah, like, I'm not going to go to the gym if I'm feeling like super bloated. I'm not going to about to go on a run if I'm feeling super bloated. I'm also not going to try and like suck my tummy in, because these are all things that in my eyes just aren't very kind in that moment. For me, I just use it as a signal to rest and be super kind to myself, and almost, this is going to sound strange, but feel good, like just enjoy the bloating, like in terms of enjoy the fullness, and just be like, okay, take this as a moment to embrace the rest. And yeah, so I almost use it as an excuse just to like, yeah, rest, feel good, be kind to myself.
Sorry for interrupting the episode, but we just want to give a very quick shout out to our sponsors, us.
If you're loving this episode and the podcast so far and want to support this podcast further, then head to the link in the show notes and show your appreciation by donating us a coffee. We'd massively appreciate it.
There are also other ways to support us for free, like dropping us a rating and review on whatever platform you're currently listening to us on. If you're watching us on YouTube, then please like and subscribe.
And you can, of course, follow us on Instagram. It's at Rewrite the Rules Pod, and share our podcast with anyone that you think will love it.
We do all offer our own coaching and therapy packages if you would like to work with any of us. All links to those and more info are all once again in the show notes.
Now let's get back to the podcast.
And like you said about exercise, I'd at most go for a walk and that'd be about it. Because obviously doing some form of exercise does help with digestion. But what's not going to help is you jumping about or trying to do some skipping. Do you know what I mean? The last thing you want to do is probably put on a tight pair of leggings and head to the gym.
Yeah.
So in terms of movement, try and maybe just stretch your body, do some yoga, like open things up, but not anything high intensity or in the way of trying to compensate for something as well. We want slow, calming movement. And I also just like I always switch out my outfit to like the most comfortable thing in my wardrobe. For so long, whenever I'd experience bloat, I would still sort of force myself to wear whatever outfit I was wearing, regardless of whether like the skirt was digging into my stomach, regardless of whether like my top was so tight that I couldn't breathe properly. Like I punished myself with those behaviors for so long. Whereas now I'm like, no, if that feels a tiny bit tight, I'm switching it out and we're going for something way more comfortable. And I prefer like baggy clothes, because I think wearing like something tight with all my bits like sticking out everywhere, that doesn't make me feel good. That makes me sort of feel trapped still. So just switch into an outfit that doesn't just make you feel physically comfortable, but sort of looking at yourself, you feel comfortable all around as well, is like the biggest tip for me.
Oh my gosh, 100%. Because sometimes I don't even notice if I'm bloated when I'm wearing just like comfy clothes.
Yeah.
And then literally it doesn't make a difference because I haven't even acknowledged that I'm bloated. I just feel comfortable still.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's it's such an obvious tip, but people still don't think about it. Like it sounds so obvious, wear comfy clothes, but people the amount of clients I've had who, when we talk about bloating, I'm like, okay, so kind of what kind of outfit did you wear? And they tell me something really tight, and I just think, no, we need to keep it comfy.
Also, just remembering, like we said, that this is a temporary feeling. This won't last forever, and if it does last forever, go to your doctors. Okay.
Yeah. So true. If it lasts forever, go to your doctors.
Yeah.
Our next tip is to start eating a bit slower and chew slower and eat just more mindfully. And it's the power of eating slowly is actually amazing. You can concentrate more on your food, swallow less air, and digest better. So we would totally recommend, even just for this week, just experimenting with consciously trying to eat slower and seeing how that feels, because it actually solves a lot of problems. You end up feeling full quicker normally. You can enjoy your meal more because you're paying more attention to like the texture, the taste, how it actually feels. So I actually have a meditation, I believe it's on YouTube, that will help you eat more mindfully. It's like a guided mindful eating meditation that you literally listen to whilst eating. So I could put that in the show notes, but yeah, I would 100% like trying to eat slower.
Yeah, absolutely. Like try and remove your phone. Like I was a sucker at times for like scrolling on my phone whilst trying to eat, and then I look back at my plate and be like, where's all that food gone? Like, oh, I ate it, I just wasn't paying enough attention. But even things like, you know, when you pick up your fork and you have your first mouthful of food, then just put the fork down. And like little exercises like that can sort of like slow you down. And you know, we're not saying try this for every single meal for a whole week. Just try it like one meal per day and just see if it makes a positive impact. I mean, I promise it will, sort of like mentally and physically. Mindful eating is so amazing, and there's so many benefits that you don't realize until you actually try it. Like eating just becomes a more pleasurable and calming experience, and we understand like not everyone's got time to like sit there and have like a whole moment. With their food. But just every once in a while, especially if you are experiencing more bloating than usual and you want to sort of do a few things to hopefully like reduce that a little bit, mindful eating is definitely one of them.
Yes.
And also stress levels. So consider whether they are too high right now. And is there any way you can sort of reduce this? Because stress, especially for me, like I am very highly impacted. My body is very highly impacted by stress. And it often goes straight to my stomach when I am panicking about anything, whether it's sort of like a subconscious stress or like a really obvious one. Is there any way you can try and reduce that?
Managing your stress is such an underrated tip for managing bloating because of what stress can do to your body. You know, I know people who have had stomach ulcers as a result of stress. So it can absolutely cause bloating. So managing your stress can actually help relieve some bloating, believe it or not. You know, it might not be the only thing, but I think it will surprise you if you start to work on your stress levels. And if that's like meditating more or just like relaxing more, or taking a few things off of your to-do list if they don't really need to be done.
Probably linking to stress as well is prioritizing sleep. And until I started doing research into sleep and like the importance of sleep, I didn't realize how sort of damaging lack of sleep was. And when I was very much like in my binge restrict cycle, I was getting no more than like 6 hours of sleep at night, and I could cope with less than that. And I don't know how I did it, because now I cannot wait to get into bed and I don't want to get up in the morning. But yeah, that's so key to reducing stress and then sort of reducing bloating as well. And even now, I notice that when my sleep is affected, if I stay up later than normal or I can't sleep properly, and especially like with the hot weather in the UK at the moment, like sleep quality isn't brilliant, but I definitely notice like a change in my body, a change in how my stomach feels, directly linked to the quality of my sleep.
Yeah, so true. Sleep affects you so much.
And these things can all be sort of combined together as well. So just like working on your evening routine, reducing that stress in the evening, maybe taking yourself for a nice walk to then hopefully get a better night's sleep. It can all be like connected together. These things don't have to just be done on their own. They work so well hand in hand. But I think we should sort of like finish on just speaking kindly to yourself, actually being nice to yourself and being nice to your body, instead of just reacting in a way that probably a lot of our listeners sometimes do, and being like disgusted in your body or being nasty to your body or like shaming yourself for how your body's reacting. And we want to move away from that like negative talk and just like work on being kinder to yourself.
Absolutely. I say like my biggest tip is when you're feeling bloated, asking yourself, what's the kindest thing I can do right now? Is that wear something more comfy? Is that lay down? Is that rest? Like what is that? Is that committing to eating slower for your next meal? Just ask yourself that question and see what comes up. But being nasty to yourself isn't going to take away the bloat.
Absolutely. If anything, it's going to add to it. There's nothing you can do right now that's going to immediately get rid of it. So you may as well choose kindness instead of choosing the negative approach. It's only going to like add to how negative you're feeling. But yeah, we hope you guys really enjoyed listening to this episode. We hope that this made you feel a bit more confident and a bit better if you are experiencing bloat right now, or just a bit more confident for when you do next experience it, that you are going to be a bit kinder to yourself and just treat yourself with more compassion and care. And obviously as well, if you've ever got any episode suggestions, things that you want to see, things that you want to hear, then drop us a DM on Instagram. And we would love to record that for you.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, guys, for listening, and we'll see you next week.
See you later, guys.
Bye.